This is Ulanzi's latest small form factor vlogging tripod, the TT38 click open tabletop tripod, and somehow Ulanzi have managed to jam pack not one but two of the most unique features from two popular tripods all into their new tripod right here. If you remember the switch port for their leg deployment system, but instead of flicking open or close the tripod legs, Ulanzi have made it automatic with just a slide of a button for the same single-handed quick deployment system like this. The other feature that Ulanzi adopted is the Mantis mode that is originally from PGY Tech's Mantis port, where you can simply hang this tripod anywhere so long as you can hook it on this little hinge hidden inside the tripod leg. In this video, we'll be taking a look at all the features the TT38 Vlog Pod has to offer, talk about some of the goods and bads of this tripod, and quickly compare this to some other small tripods that I have here in the studio, like the Ulanzi MT11 flexible tripod and Sony's GP-VP-T2 Bluetooth tripod to help you decide which tripod you should consider. Now, before diving into the video, disclaimers first, Ulanzi did send over this tripod for a review, however, this is not a sponsored video. Ulanzi have no input in whatever that I'll be sharing in this video, nor do I get to review this video before it is published, and everything I say it is of my own opinion. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Taking a look at inside the box, we have one big padded foam case that holds all of our goods, starting with an Allen key, which I have too many of them lying around. And next is just the TT38 tripod right here. That's basically everything inside the box. I was also sent a Yuka base plate with its mounting plate, which we will talk about it in just a second. Now, my first impression when taking this tripod out of the box and holding it for the first time, the grip is beefy and thick and quite comfortable to hold. I also noticed that this tripod has this slightly tilted downward facing angle of the entire structure. So the ball head is angled perfectly up until your eye level, and my overall first impression, it does give off a very sturdy and well-built tripod. The ball head is adjustable, able to pan left and right, and feels like it has a ton of features packed into this very tripod, and one of which is the obvious, the one-click deployment system. Now that is pretty satisfying. One click to deploy the entire tripod, and when you are done, simply collect them back, and as you can see, very functional, especially for a one-handed operation. With that out of the way, let's take a closer look at all the features the Ulanzi TT38 have to offer. Starting off with the dimensions of this vlogging tripod, the dimensions when folded sits at around 252mm in height, 56mm in depth, and about 108mm in width. When fully deployed, it has a base footprint of about 230mm in diameter with a height of 200mm, and the weight sits at around 394 grams. The overall build quality is made from ABS plastic and aluminium alloy. The handle is made out of non-slip silicone that makes for a comfortable handheld experience when holding. When deployed, the legs feels like really cheap plastic, however sturdy enough as a tripod leg support. All in all, a very solid build. Now, onto the ball head and quick release system. The TT38 features a non-removable ball head that is able to pan 360 degrees horizontally and 180 degrees vertically, essentially allowing for both landscape and portrait composition. Although the material on the ball head is actually quite coarse, as rotating around doesn't actually feel smooth. The maximum payload on this ball head goes up to 6.6 pounds, which is about 3 kilograms. Now, a thing to note is that this is a non-removable ball head, so you can only use the plate that came included, or you can use Falcam's F38 quick release system. Now, the TT38 utilizes Ulanzi's Yuka quick release system that takes in both the Yuka plate and Falcam's F38 plate. This Yuka quick release plate and the base mount is essentially a system by Ulanzi that features a dedicated lock switch to lock and unlock your quick release plate. As you press in the plate into the mount, you'll be able to hear a click indicating that the plate is locked in. To quickly unmount the base plate, simply press the unlock button to release the base plate. Now, below the ball head, there are indications of the angle of the horizontal pan, and the dampening on the panning is also fixed at a certain resistance level, and you cannot adjust the smoothness of the pan. Instead, it is more like a lock and unlock panning knob right here. Also situated beside the ball head is a cold shoe mount that is able to rotate 90 degrees, allowing you to mount various accessories like a microphone or an LED light. There is also no adjustable screws to tighten or loosen this cold shoe mount. Moving on to the center button that's located along the grip, which I believe you will already know what it does, so I will save this portion towards the end. But first, let's take a look at the other sections of this tripod. Beside the deployment button, there is a subtle Ulanzi embossed logo, which is pretty nice. Moving down the tripod, all three legs have rubber feet at their base, providing for sufficient grip when in contact with any surfaces. And towards the bottom of the tripod, there is also a hook strap insertion for you to insert lanyards onto possibly a strap. But unfortunately, Peak Design's ankle links is not long enough, so yeah. Also, hidden under the handle is this little hook, which is responsible for the Mantis mode setup, where you can hook this onto a latch onto a surface for a different shooting angle. We will talk about it in just a second. Now, with the way the TT38's handle is constructed, whereby the tripod is at an angle facing towards us, you can invert the entire setup to turn it into underslung mode, which Ulanzi calls it the top handle grip mode, essentially allowing you to capture low angle shots, which is quite similar when you're operating a gimbal that is in underslung mode. Now, we can finally address the elephant in the room, which is the one-click deployment system of the tripod legs. With just one click, it deploys the entire tripod, propping up all the legs as you can see right here. Well, actually, you slide up this button right here instead of clicking, and how this works is that all of the tripod legs are stored inside of the handle and they spring outwards in a circular motion. As soon as the legs spring outwards, the other legs follow it sequentially. Then to keep them, you just group them all together in a pinch, and that's it. One click to deploy the entire tripod, and when you're ready to go, you collect all of the legs, and that is literally it. And this is the key feature of the TT38 tripod when compared to other smaller tripods, where you have to fumble with individual legs opening them up every single time you want to place them down. From a handling point of view, the TT38 tripod does save up a ton of time when wanting to simply place down your camera setup without actually struggling to pull the legs apart of your tripod. Now, there is another feature that I've mentioned earlier, that is the Mantis mode. To do this, you unlock the hidden leg under the handle, and with this little hook that is made from really strong metal, allows you to hang it over ledges that are not more than 100mm, and with the other two legs in contact to the wall as extra support. Simply adjust the ball head to eye level and you're pretty much all set. This rare feature opens up new recording angles, especially angles that are hard to achieve by using regular tripods. However, is this little hook really strong enough to hold up your entire $2,000 camera setup, and would you really trust this? Moving on to the review portion, starting from the thoughts as well as some pros and cons of the TT38 tripod. Now, I think that the TT38 tripod's build quality is pretty solid as mentioned earlier, and the overall way that you prop up the camera, adjust the angle, and the feel of a vlogging setup is very solid. The grip, I have to say, is pretty beefy and it's quite comfortable to hold, given that the rubberized handle pretty much feels like how you are holding a gimbal's grip. The base of the tripod when fully deployed is also quite sturdy. I even tested this out with my 100-400 telephoto lens with the lens collar mounted on the TT38, and overall it was rock solid. Now onto the Yuka quick release system by Ulanzi, which takes in f38 plates, and the experience using it quickly grew on me on how convenient it is to mount and unmount your plate with this lock and unlocking from the base mount. I'm a Peak Design and Aka Swiss plate user, as I own both the Capture Clip V2 and V3. Along the line, I did pick up the f38 plate that is compatible with Peak Design, so I am sort of tapped in the f38 ecosystem. Now, setting up the quick release system back and forth, swapping between different cameras, I have the GoPro Hero 12 that is a super tiny system, as well as the ZV-E1 with a 18mm f2.8 ultra wide angle lens for vlogging. I did really enjoy the quick release system with its lock and unlocking mounting system, and it was really intuitive, and I can foresee myself fully converting into the f38 ecosystem. Now, the number one thing that I really like is the one-click deployment system of the tripod legs, as you don't have to fumble around with both hands setting up your tripod, which is super functional. By just sliding this button, it deploys the entire tripod and you can go straight into content creation. Just for a comparison, I have several tabletop tripods that I've purchased over the past years, like the Ulanzi MT11 flexible tripod where you can bend the legs of the tripod to set it down, or the Sony Bluetooth remote controller where you also need two hands to set up the tripod onto a surface. And on the other hand, the TT38, with just one click, you're able to set up the tripod just like that. Another thing about the TT38 is that I also like the Mantis mode. It's available for a quick setup for a higher viewing angle, especially in positions or heights that cannot be achieved with a regular tripod. As I've said earlier, I would be a little skeptical, fully trusting this tiny little hook, but for this video's sake, I've since placed my camera in as many locations as I can find, and overall I have to say it is quite okay. But I kid you not, I was glancing back and forth on my tripod, ready to pounce back to save my camera in case if the whole setup came crashing down. But fortunately, it has held up pretty well. However, with all of the goods, it is time to talk about the bads, and there are some concerns and thoughts about improving this as a whole. The one-click mechanical parts surely have their wear and tear, and only time will tell if the spring mechanism holds up long enough before coming loose, since there doesn't seem to be any adjustment knobs. Also, just after a couple of use, the leg when retracted doesn't seem to be fully flush, with some portion of the legs protruding outwards. The cold shoe mount on its sides does not come with adjustable knobs for loosening and tightening, and so time will only tell if it holds up long enough before you need to tighten it, and when you do, you're pretty much screwed. Also, in my experience using the cold shoe mount, I realized that the panning knob at certain angles gets extremely close to the cold shoe mount and sometimes does get in the way when adjusting the panning knob. This happens on the either side of the panning knob, as you can see right here. Also, with the tripod legs not being able to adjust manually, if you are using this in a smaller and tighter space, then you might run into some problems placing the tripod down, as the base diameter is pretty much fixed, and this can be a potential problem. Unlike adjustable tripod legs, you can always opt to close down the tripod leg just to fit it in a tighter space. The non-interchangeable ball head pretty much locks you in on Ulanzi or Falcam's quick release system instead of allowing for standard Arca Swiss plate. Unless if you're already in the F38 ecosystem, then this shouldn't concern you. Now, a vlogging tripod as of today's standard, like the Mantis 2.0, comes included with a Bluetooth remote control that has access to features on your camera, such as start recording, zooming in and out, custom button settings, and so on. Unfortunately, the TT38 does not come included with any said Bluetooth function that can elevate your vlogging experience to the next level. One thing that I think needed to be pointed out is that this tripod is actually right-handed oriented, as you might have already guessed it. The legs of the tripod spring outwards from the left-hand side of the tripod, and if you are left-handed, then your palms will be in the way of deploying the tripod, as you need to toss it to your right hand to deploy the tripod. Just thought to let you guys know. Lastly, a couple of features that I wish the TT38 came included is obviously Bluetooth remote functionality for quick access to some camera settings, a smoother ball head when rotating 360 degrees, and a height adjustable column for getting a slightly higher angle. I say this because throughout my testing, I find that the low angle placement, if you are putting this on the ground, seems to be a bit stagnant, and it constantly shows an angle that is slightly from the ground. So if you are planning to put this tripod on the ground for most of your shots, it will always be at a low angle pointing upwards. With a vertical column, you can bring it up ever so slightly, which offers more shooting angle, especially when vlogging. Adjustable screws for tightening and loosening the cold shoe mount, as well as the spring-loaded deployment system is more than welcome. And Ulanzi, if you are watching, please just add a Bluetooth function to the Mark II version of this vlogging tripod, and that is all I asked for. And I think that's pretty much everything I have to say about the new TT38 tripod from Ulanzi. And with all of that being said, this tripod is currently being priced at $60 US in comparison with PGY Tech's Mantis Pod 2.0 at about $70, and the Switch Pod for a whopping $100. Ulanzi offers both the competitors' unique features all in this tripod for a slightly lower price is commendable. However, if you are looking for a remote control available tripod, then this is probably not the one that you should consider. Now, if you don't mind the TT38 just being a regular quick deployment tripod, then this tripod could be worth a shot. The convenience of not fumbling with the tripod legs each time you want to place down your tripod is very functional, and with this function alone, I would highly recommend for you guys to try it out. Now, if you are interested, I have an affiliate link to purchase this tripod, link in the description box down below. Consider using it to help support the channel in the work that I create with no additional cost to you. And that's basically it for this video. I hope you have really enjoyed it. If there is something that you would like to know or something that I've missed out, consider leaving me a comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you guys as soon as possible. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Ken and I'll catch you all in the next video. Stay safe, peace out, and bye bye. That is actually pretty satisfying.